And I think it was a really important moment, and I think it was October 2019, when you stood up in Parliament and told Boris Johnson how disgraceful it was that he had authored a Telegraph column in which he referred to Muslim women as letterboxes, and you very much denounced him. And I thought it was a really seminal moment.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, if I decide to wear a turban, or you decide to wear a cross, or he decides to wear a kippah or a skull cap, or she decides to wear a hijab or a burqa, does that mean that it is open season for right honourable members of this House to make derogatory and divisive remarks about our appearance? For those of us who from a young age have had to endure and face up to being called names such as Towelhead or Taliban or coming from Bongo land, we can appreciate full well the hurt and pain felt by already vulnerable Muslim women when they are described as looking like bank robbers and letterboxes.
What spurred you in that moment to sort of confront Boris Johnson?
I think it was Boris Johnson's first ever PMQs. And he was probably thinking that this is the honeymoon period. I don't think he could quite have imagined that he would be held to account for his hate-filled words, which led to a spike in hate crime. Now, the reason why I asked that question is because for months, being involved in the All-Party Parliamentary Group for British Muslims, as well as other organisations, and being a representative of a very multicultural community in Slough, it's literally the world in microcosm. So we've got people from all parts of the world. We've got a large English, Welsh, Irish, Scottish population, Eastern European, Indian, Pakistani, Afro-Caribbean, you name it. Anybody and everybody is in Slough. But because those answers hadn't been forthcoming when the likes of myself and others had actually spoken up about it, they'd been asking the then Prime Minister Theresa May that is she going to condemn the words of her own backbencher, her own former Foreign Secretary. And what also was really angering, it's something that really incensed me, is that Boris Johnson weaponised those words in an article at a time when he wanted to become the Jungle King. He wanted to lead the Conservative Party, and he realised that more and more of their members were going onto the right of the party, so more right wing, and therefore it was fair game to be more Islamophobic and to be speaking about already vulnerable women as looking like bank robbers and letterboxes. So I thought my number came up because as those of us or those of you who are aware about the parliamentary proceedings, you can't just stand up and ask a question. Your number and your name needs to have come out of the drawer. So thankfully, my number came up and I thought, right, I'm coming straight for you because you will be held to account. It doesn't matter if you're the most powerful person in the country, you need to be held to account for the words that you use. And you're right, I think I hadn't quite envisaged that the speech would become so viral globally or some of those aspects. But I think when I analysed it further afterwards, I think there were various strands to that question, and the reason why it resonated with different individuals was perhaps, as you rightly said, it was a Sikh guy standing up for Muslim women. It was a man standing up for women. It was somebody who was talking about experiences faced by him personally. When I referred to, if I am wearing a turban, and for those of us who have been called Taliban or Towelhead, or coming from Bongo land, because those were the experiences that many of us had when out there on the playgrounds of our schools, and that would have resonated with many other people who would have had similar life experiences to me. And that is also about how words can have a devastating impact on other people. We know that the level of hate crime increased. There was a spike of 375% after those comments, whereby women wearing hijabs and burqas, that they had tomatoes or eggs thrown at them. All of these things came as a direct consequence of somebody's desire for power. that they wanted to be the top person, they wanted to unseat the Prime Minister of the time, they wanted to be the leader of their party, and they were going to use those words. When we're sitting here, I may say something which I may regret afterwards. It could be a slip of the tongue. But when we do a column, we sometimes write it, then we rub things out, rewrite it. So then it literally is words are being weaponized. But yeah, I was glad that I was able to hold him to account, because some of us had been asking, when is he going to apologise? Also, the Conservative Party promised that they would hold an independent inquiry on Islamophobia. The Prime Minister and his then Chancellor, who also happened to be Muslim, they promised that there would be an independent inquiry into Islamophobia, just as the Labour Party had to tackle its own demons, had to tackle the abhorrent issue of anti-Semitism within its own ranks. I think it was incumbent upon the Conservatives that if they were serious about tackling racism and Islamophobia within their party, then they needed to hold that independent inquiry. And to this day, despite those questions from the likes of myself and others, there was a half-hearted apology from the Prime Minister, and that was in the midst of an election. I think that's because media individuals like yourselves, they were trying to hold the Prime Minister to account. Are you going to apologise? So there was some sort of half-hearted apology. And to this day, there has not been an independent inquiry. When is that going to be?